She said it softly, almost sweetly, the way she always did when she needed me to stay. "Lily, I can't breathe properly. Can you bring my medication?" I stood in the doorway of her dim bedroom, watching my mother press a trembling hand to her chest. The curtains were drawn. The air smelled of lavender and something stale beneath it. 7 years. 7 years of moments just like this. I nodded, brought the pills, watched her swallow them with her eyes half closed. And I believed every second of it. Until the night I found her phone. Until I read the message that burned through everything I thought I knew. Until Thanksgiving dinner, when I stood up at the table, smiled at my family, and slid a folder across the white tablecloth. My mother's face went pale. My brother dropped his fork. My sister stopped breathing. And I said 5 words that ended 7 years of lies. "Mom, you're not sick. Before I tell you how it all unfolded, tell me, where are you listening from? Drop your location so I know I'm not alone in this." I grew up in a house where sacrifice was measured in silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that fills your throat when you want to scream but no one will listen. My mother, Patricia Bennett, was the center of everything. She had been beautiful once. The kind of beautiful that makes people forget to question what's underneath. Photos from her youth lined the hallways. Her in a white dress. Her laughing at a garden party. Her holding my father's arm like she owned him. By the time I was old enough to understand our family, she had already built her kingdom. And in that kingdom there was a clear order. Nathan was the firstborn. A son. The one who carried the family name like a crown he never had to earn. He worked in finance, lived downtown, drove a car that cost more than most people's houses. My mother spoke of him like he was a miracle she had personally engineered. Sophie was the golden girl. Blonde, polished, married to a surgeon named Daniel who smiled like a toothpaste commercial. She had 2 children, a house with a pool, and a life that looked like a magazine spread. My mother called her weekly. They laughed together. They planned things together. They existed in a bubble I was never invited into. And then there was me. Lily. The youngest. Quiet one. The one who stayed. I wasn't quiet by nature. I had been loud once. Curious, eager, full of ideas that tumbled out of me faster than I could catch them. But somewhere along the way, I learned that my voice didn't carry the same weight as theirs. My opinions were corrected. My dreams were questioned. My choices were met with sighs and raised eyebrows. So I got quieter. And the quieter I got, the more invisible I became. When I was 22, my mother got sick. At least that's what we were told. Started with fatigue. Then dizziness. Then a diagnosis that no one fully explained but everyone accepted. Some kind of chronic autoimmune condition that left her bedridden, weak, unable to care for herself. Nathan was too busy. Sophie had her family. My father, Richard, was already fading. His own health declining. His presence in the house becoming more ghost than man. So I stayed. I moved back into my childhood bedroom. I put my own plans on hold. I became the caretaker no one asked for but everyone expected. Every morning I brought her breakfast. Every afternoon I helped her to the bathroom, adjusted her pillows, read her medications out loud. Every evening I sat beside her bed and listened to her talk about the life she used to have, the life that illness had stolen from her. And I believed it. All of it. Because why would a mother lie about something like that? My father died when I was 25. Heart attack. Quick, brutal, final. The funeral was small. My mother was too weak to attend. Nathan flew in for 2 days, gave a speech that sounded rehearsed, then flew back to his life. Sophie cried beautifully, held her children close, and left before the reception ended. I stayed. I handled the arrangements. I signed the papers. I cleaned out his closet while my mother wept from her bed, calling his name like a prayer she didn't believe in. Weeks later, when I asked about the will, my mother's face tightened. "Not now, Lily. I can't handle that stress. You know how fragile I am." I didn't push. I never pushed. Pushing meant conflict, and conflict meant exhaustion. And exhaustion meant failing the one job I had been assigned. Keeping her alive. So the will stayed sealed. And I stayed trapped. The years blurred. 26, 27, 28, 29. I watched my siblings build lives. Nathan got promoted. Sophie had another child. They posted photos, took vacations, celebrated milestones. I watched from my mother's bedside, my phone glowing in the dark, their happiness like a window I could see through but never open. I told myself it was temporary, that she would get better, that one day I would have my turn. But she never got better, and my turn never came. People ask me sometimes, friends from college, distant relatives, old co-workers, why I didn't just leave, why I didn't hire help, set boundaries, reclaim my life. They didn't understand. When you're the one who stays, leaving feels like murder, like abandoning someone who needs you, like proving everyone right when they whispered that you weren't strong enough, weren't good enough, weren't worth the space you took up in the family. So I stayed, and I shrank, and I told myself that love looked like sacrifice, even when the sacrifice was everything I had. The night everything changed was unremarkable. No storm, no sign, no warning. My mother had asked me to charge her phone. Simple request. I plugged it in beside my bed, planning to return it in the morning. But then it lit up. Message. From someone named Deborah. A name I vaguely remembered. One of my mother's old friends, someone she occasionally mentioned but never saw. I didn't mean to read it, but the preview showed enough. Patricia, you're unbelievable. 7 years and she still doesn't know. My heart stopped. Picked up the phone. My hands were trembling. I told myself it was nothing, a misunderstanding, a joke, something taken out of context. I opened the message thread. And then I read. Lily's completely under control. She thinks I can barely walk. Nathan got the business connections, Sophie got the wedding fund, and this one, she's my retirement plan. Richard's will is still sealed. As long as I stay sick, everything stays in my name. I read it again, and again. The words didn't change. I scrolled up. Months of messages. Years of them. My mother laughing about how easy it was. Deborah occasionally questioning but mostly impressed. Stories about me. How I brought meals, how I adjusted her pillows, how I had given up dating, career, friends. All of it served up like entertainment. She actually thinks I need her. It's almost sad. But useful. Put the phone down. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there in the dark, feeling something inside me crack open. Not with sadness, but with a cold, clear understanding. 7 years. 7 years of my life. Stolen by a woman who was never sick. The next morning, I brought her breakfast like nothing had happened. She smiled at me. Weak. Grateful. The performance flawless. Thank you, sweetheart. I don't know what I'd do without you. Smiled back. But inside something had shifted. The daughter who believed was gone. And in her place stood someone new. Someone watching, waiting, planning. I needed proof. Not just messages. Those could be explained away, denied, twisted into something I had misunderstood. I needed undeniable, visible, concrete proof. So I started watching. I told her I was going out for groceries. Instead, I parked down the street and waited. 45 minutes later, I saw her silhouette pass by the upstairs window. Walking. No wheelchair. No cane. No trembling. Just walking, steady and sure, like someone who had never been sick a day in her life. I drove around the block, hands shaking on the steering wheel. When I came back with groceries an hour later, she was in bed again, pale and fragile, asking if I could make her some soup. I made the soup. And I started digging. I found the doctor's reports first. Filed in a box in her closet. Hidden beneath old sweaters. Letters on official letterhead, detailing her condition, recommending rest, prescribing medications. But when I searched the doctor's name, nothing came up. No practice. No license. No record. The reports were fake. I found the pharmacy receipts next. The medications she took every morning. Vitamins. Over-the-counter supplements. Nothing prescription. Nothing real. And then I found the security footage. Our house had an old system. Installed by my father years ago, forgotten after his death. The cameras still worked. The hard drive still recorded. No one had checked it in years. Pulled the footage. Hours of it. Weeks. My mother, walking through the house at night. Cooking meals while I was out. Exercising in the living room. Talking on the phone, laughing, pacing, living, while I believed she was dying. One clip broke me. Her on the phone, voice clear and strong. Lily just left for the pharmacy. God, she's so gullible. Richard always said she was the soft one. Easiest to control. I saved everything. Copied the messages. Downloaded the footage. Photographed the fake documents. And then I found my father's will. She had hidden it in a lockbox, tucked behind winter coats in the back of her closet. The key was taped to the bottom of her jewelry box. I found it by accident, looking for something else entirely. I opened it at midnight, hands steady now, heart cold. The will was clear. My father had left the house. This house, the one I had been living in for 7 years, to me. Not to my mother. Not to Nathan or Sophie. Me. Because, as the document stated, Lily has given her life to this family. She deserves a foundation to build her own. He knew. Maybe not everything but something. He saw me. He valued me. And my mother had buried that truth along with him. I didn't confront her that night. I wasn't ready. Confrontation without strategy is just noise. And I had spent 7 years being unheard. This time when I spoke, everyone would listen. Thanksgiving was 4 weeks away. The one day each year when the whole family gathered. When Nathan flew in with his expensive wine. When Sophie arrived with her perfect children and perfect husband. When my mother held court from her wheelchair, accepting praise and sympathy like a queen accepting tribute. This year would be different. This year I would give them something to be thankful for. The weeks leading up to Thanksgiving were the strangest of my life. I moved through the house like a ghost, present but untethered, visible but already gone. I brought my mother her meals. I adjusted her pillows. I listened to her complaints about her pain, her weakness, her suffering. And I smiled. Not because I forgave her. Not because I was pretending. But because I knew something she didn't. I knew that every lie she told was another brick in the wall I was building. A wall she wouldn't see until it was too late. I prepared quietly. I made copies of everything. I organized the evidence into a folder. Messages, screenshots, medical fraud, footage, timestamps, my father's will. Each page was a piece of a story she thought she controlled. I contacted a lawyer. Not the family attorney. He was too close to my mother, too likely to warn her. I found someone new, someone outside her web. You have a strong case, he said after reviewing everything. The will is legally binding. The house is yours. And the fraud. He paused. If you wanted to pursue charges, you could. I told him I'd think about it. But charges weren't what I wanted. What I wanted was simpler. And more devastating. I wanted them to see. Thanksgiving morning arrived cold and bright. I woke early, showered, dressed in something simple. A cream sweater, dark jeans, no jewelry. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She wasn't the girl who had shrunk herself to fit their expectations. She wasn't the caretaker who had sacrificed everything for a lie. She was someone new. Someone forged in betrayal and sharpened by silence. I set the table myself. China plates, cloth napkins, candles in silver holders. My mother watched from her wheelchair, offering instructions I didn't need. The turkey should be in the center. No, move the flowers. Lily, are you listening? I'm listening, I said. And I was. Just not to her. Nathan arrived first. He walked through the door like he owned it, which in his mind he probably did. He hugged my mother, kissed her cheek, handed me his coat without meeting my eyes. The house looks good, Lil. You've kept it up. I didn't correct him. I just hung his coat and smiled. Sophie came next, trailing children and bags and the faint scent of expensive perfume. Daniel followed behind, handsome and bland, already checking his phone. Mom, you look wonderful, Sophie said, crouching beside the wheelchair. Doesn't she look wonderful, Lily? She looks exactly like herself, I said. No one noticed the edge. We sat down at 2:00. The table was beautiful. The food was perfect. My mother sat at the head, dabbing her eyes at the sight of her family gathered around her. I'm so blessed, she said, voice trembling with practiced emotion. Even with everything I've been through, having all of you here. It means everything. Nathan raised his glass. To Mom. The strongest woman we know. Everyone drank. I lifted my glass but didn't swallow. The meal began. Small talk. Laughter. Sophie's children fighting over roles. Daniel discussing a surgery no one cared about. Nathan bragging about a deal that probably wasn't as impressive as he made it sound. And my mother through all of it playing her role perfectly. The frail matriarch. The suffering saint. The woman who had given so much and asked for so little. I watched her lift her fork with a shaking hand. The same hand I had seen on the security footage, steady and strong, gripping a phone while she laughed about how easy I was to control. Dessert was served at 4. Pumpkin pie, whipped cream, coffee in my grandmother's cups. That's when I stood up. Before we finish, I said, I have something I'd like to share. The table went quiet. My mother's eyes narrowed slightly, not enough for anyone else to notice, but I caught it. A flicker of something beneath the mask. Lily, this really isn't the time, Nathan started. It won't take long. I reached beneath my chair and pulled out the folder I had hidden there that morning. Heavy. Full. I placed it on the table in front of my mother. What is this? She asked. Her voice was careful now. Controlled. Open it. She didn't move. So I opened it for her. The first page was a screenshot. Her message to Deborah. Lily's completely under control. She's my retirement plan. I watched her face drain of color. Lily, what is this? Sophie's voice, sharp with confusion. Keep reading. I spread the pages across the table. The fake medical documents. The pharmacy receipts showing vitamins, not prescriptions. The timestamps from the security footage. 2:34 a.m. Patricia Bennett walking unaided through the kitchen. 11:15 a.m. Patricia Bennett exercising in the living room. This is insane, Nathan said, but his voice wavered. Mom, tell her this is insane. My mother's hands were trembling now. For real this time. Lily. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. My voice was calm. Steady. You've been lying for 7 years. You were never sick. You faked everything, the diagnosis, the symptoms, the weakness. You let me give up my entire life to take care of you while Nathan built his career and Sophie built her family. That's not. I'm not finished. I pulled out the last document. My father's will. Dad left this house to me. Not to you. Me. 'Cause he knew. He saw what you were doing, even if he couldn't stop it. And you hid this. You hid it so you could keep controlling me. The table was silent. Sophie was staring at the pages, her face pale. Nathan had pushed back from the table like the documents might bite him. Daniel was looking anywhere but at us. The children had gone quiet, sensing something they couldn't name. And my mother, Patricia Bennett, the woman who had orchestrated 7 years of lies, sat frozen in her wheelchair. The wheelchair she didn't need. Stand up, I said. Lily. Stand up, Mom. Show them what I already know. She didn't move. Fine. I turned to my siblings. 2 weeks ago, I watched her walk across the upstairs hallway. No cane. No struggle. She made herself lunch. She did yoga in the living room. She talks to Deborah on the phone almost every day, laughing about how she's managed me. You're lying, Sophie whispered. Pulled out my phone. Press play. The video was clear. My mother, walking through the house, steady and strong, laughing on the phone, actually dancing, to music playing from the kitchen speaker. Sophie's hand flew to her mouth. Nathan stood up. Sat down. Stood up again. Mom, he said. Mom, is this real? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The silence was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. My mother started crying. Not the delicate tears she used when she needed sympathy. These were ugly tears, raw, desperate, the kind that come when all your masks fall off at once and you're left with nothing but the face beneath. "You don't understand," she sobbed. "After your father got sick, I was terrified. I didn't know what would happen to me. Nathan had his career, Sophie had Daniel, and you. You were the only one who had nothing. So I thought if I could just keep me trapped, finish, keep you close, keep you safe. Safe." I tasted the word like poison. "I gave you 7 years, Mom. 7 years of my life. I watched my friends get married, have children, build careers. I missed job opportunities. I ended relationships because I couldn't leave you. I shrunk myself down to fit inside this house, this role, this lie. And you call that safe? I was scared. You were selfish." The word hung in the air, sharp and final. Nathan cleared his throat. "Lily, maybe we should talk about this privately." "No." I turned to face him. "You don't get to manage this, Nathan. You weren't here. You flew in twice a year, dropped off wine and guilt, and left me to do everything. You knew something was wrong, you had to know. And you didn't care enough to ask because it was convenient not to." His jaw tightened. "That's not fair." "Fair?" I laughed. "You want to talk about fair? I haven't had a vacation in 7 years. I haven't been to a movie, a restaurant, a friend's wedding. I put my entire life on hold while you collected promotions and Sophie collected photo opportunities. Don't talk to me about fair." Sophie was crying now, silent tears streaming down her perfect face. "Lily, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a difference." I gathered the documents, stacking them neatly, returning them to the folder. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "This house belongs to me. Dad's will is clear, and I've already had it verified by a lawyer. I'm selling it. I'm taking what's mine. And I'm leaving. You can't just—" My mother started. I am." I looked at her, really looked at her, maybe for the first time. "You can move in with Nathan. Or Sophie. Or Deborah. I don't care. But you're not my responsibility anymore. You never should have been. Lily, please. I spent 7 years begging for your honesty, Mom. You don't get to beg for mine." I picked up the folder and walked toward the door. "Happy Thanksgiving," I said without turning around. "I hope it was everything you wanted." The door closed behind me. And for the first time in 7 years I could breathe. The weeks after Thanksgiving were strange and quiet. I moved into a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy, just a studio with big windows and a view of a park. I bought a mattress, a desk, a coffee maker. I lived out of boxes and didn't mind. Every morning I woke up and made my own choices. What to eat, where to go, how to spend my time. Small freedoms that felt enormous after 7 years of captivity. The house sold quickly. A young couple, eager to start their life, excited about the wraparound porch and the old oak in the backyard. I signed the papers without sentiment. That house had been a prison. Let it be someone else's home. My mother moved in with Nathan. I heard about it through Sophie, who had started calling, tentatively at first, then more often. She apologized. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough to keep the door open. "She's different now," Sophie said one evening. "Quieter. She doesn't perform as much." "Good," I said. "Maybe she'll learn to be a real person." "That's harsh. That's honest. You can handle both." Nathan didn't call. I didn't expect him to. His pride was too bruised, his image too shattered. In his world, admitting fault was the same as admitting weakness. And Nathan Bennett was never weak. I didn't need his apology. I didn't need anyone's. What I needed I had finally given myself. Freedom, truth, a future that belonged to me. 6 months after that Thanksgiving I got a new job. Real one. A marketing position at a firm downtown, with a salary and benefits and colleagues who knew nothing about my past. I showed up on the first day, nervous and excited, and realized I had forgotten what it felt like to build something for myself. I was good at it. Better than I expected. All those years of managing my mother's lies had taught me something. How to read people, how to anticipate needs, how to craft messages that landed exactly where they needed to. Skills born from survival, now applied to something that didn't drain me. I got promoted within a year. Then again, I started dating. Carefully, slowly, learning what I wanted instead of accepting what I could get. I made friends, real ones, people who knew the whole story and stayed anyway. And through all of it, I carried the lesson that 7 years of lies had taught me. Trust is earned, not owed. Even from family. Especially from family. My mother reached out once, about 2 years after everything fell apart. Letter. Handwritten. Shaky cursive on cream-colored paper. She didn't apologize exactly. She explained. She justified. She talked about her fears, her loneliness, her desperate need to feel needed. At the end she wrote, "I hope someday you can forgive me. I hope someday we can be a family again." I read the letter twice. Then I folded it, placed it in a drawer, and didn't respond. Not out of cruelty. Not out of revenge. But because forgiveness isn't owed either. It's chosen. And I wasn't ready to choose it yet. Maybe someday I will. Maybe I'll call her, visit her, let her back into my life in some small, boundaried way. Or maybe I won't. That's the thing about freedom, it includes the freedom to decide. Last month, I stood in my new apartment, looking out at the city lights, thinking about the girl I used to be. The one who believed her mother's tears. The one who sacrificed everything for a lie. The one who made herself small because she thought that was all she deserved. She's still in there somewhere. I can feel her sometimes. In moments of doubt, in flashes of old fear, in the impulse to shrink when someone raises their voice. But she doesn't run the show anymore. You do. And I've learned something that took 7 years and one terrible Thanksgiving to understand. The people who love you don't need to keep you small. They don't need your sacrifice to feel important. They don't build their comfort on your captivity. Real love wants you to grow. Real family celebrates when you take up space. And if they can't do that, if they need your smallness to feel big, then they were never really family at all. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if my mother will ever truly change, or if Nathan will ever swallow his pride, or if Sophie and I will build something real from the wreckage of what we were. But I know this. I'm not waiting for their permission anymore. I'm not shrinking to fit their expectations. I'm not sacrificing my life for people who only valued me when I was useful. I am 32 years old. I have an apartment with big windows, a job I'm proud of, friends who know my real story, and a future I'm building with my own 2 hands. And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything. If this story satisfies you somewhere deep, then subscribe to Revenge Avenue. The next story might feel as familiar as your own family.